Captain Kira pressed her 6 fingers against the cold metal wall of her ship's bridge. The silent wing had been flying through empty space for 3 months now. Her crew was getting tired. They wanted to go home to their families on the green world of Veltar, but something was wrong with this place. The star charts called it the Sol System. Every space captain knew to stay away from here. The old stories said bad things happened to ships that came too close. Some never came back at all. Kira did not believe in ghost stories. She was a scientist first, then a ship captain. Her job was to explore and learn. The Velthari Council had sent her here because strange energy readings were coming from this dead system. Energy meant technology. Technology meant answers. "Captain," called her communications officer Zeth. His blue skin looked pale under the bridge lights. "I'm getting something on the long-range sensors. It's big." Kira walked over to look at the screen. Numbers and lines covered the display. She had seen many strange things in space, but this was different. The energy signature was huge, bigger than a space station. Bigger than most moons. "Where is it?" she asked. "Behind the gas giant, the big one with the colored rings." Zeth pointed at another screen showing the system map. "It's hiding in the shadow." Kira thought about this. Why would someone hide something so big behind a planet? What were they trying to keep secret? "Take us closer," she ordered. "But keep the weapons ready." The Silent Wing was a small ship. It carried only 20 crew members. They were explorers. Not fighters, but every smart captain kept their ship armed. Space could be dangerous. As they flew closer to the gas giant, Kira felt nervous. The stories about this system were very old. Older than her grandmother's grandmother. They spoke of a race called humans who lived here long ago. The humans were said to be tall and strong. They built great ships and fought terrible wars, but that was impossible. The humans had disappeared 500,000 years ago. Nothing could last that long in space. Nothing could survive that long without food or air or power. "Captain." Zeth's voice was excited now. "You need to see this." Kira looked at the main screen. What she saw made her heart beat faster. There, floating in the darkness, was the largest structure she had ever seen. It was not round like a space station. It was long and sharp like a knife made of metal and lights. "How big is it?" she whispered. 20 kilometers long, 5 kilometers wide. Zeth checked his instruments again. "Captain, this is just one ship. I'm reading dozens more, maybe hundreds." Kira felt cold. The structure looked like a warship, but it was the size of a small city. What kind of beings could build something so massive? What kind of war would need ships that big? "Are there any life signs?" she asked. "I can't tell. The hull is too thick." "But Captain, there's something else. The energy readings are getting stronger. Something inside is waking up." As if the ship heard him, lights began to turn on along its surface. Slowly, like eyes opening after a long sleep, windows started to glow with soft blue light. Then more ships appeared. They had been completely dark before, invisible against the black of space. Kira counted them on her screen. 10 ships, 20, 50, 100. More kept appearing as their lights turned on. Soon the space around the gas giant was filled with massive warships, all waking up at the same time. "Captain, we're getting a transmission," Zeth said. His voice was shaking. "Put it on speakers." Strange sounds came from the ship's communication system. It was not random noise. It had patterns, rhythm. It was a language, but not one any Velthari had ever heard. "Can you translate it?" "The computer is trying. But this language is not in our database. It's very old, very complex." Kira made a hard choice. Send a response. "Use the universal greeting protocol. Let them know we come in peace." Zeth typed commands into his console. A simple message went out to the giant ships. It contained basic math and pictures. It showed that the Silent Wing was an exploration vessel. It showed that they meant no harm. The response came quickly. The same strange language, but this time it was different, calmer, more organized. Then something amazing happened. The computer started to understand some words. "Captain, I'm getting..." A partial translation. They're saying ... welcome. They want to know who we are. They want to know how long they've been sleeping. Sleeping? Kira did not understand. How can ships sleep? Before Zeth could answer, the biggest ship began to move. It turned slowly, like a great beast stretching after a long rest. As it moved, Kira could see details on its hull. There were symbols and markings she did not recognize. But there was also something else. Something that made her blood freeze. Weapons? Thousands of them. The entire surface of the ship was covered with gun ports and missile tubes. This was not just a warship. This was a weapon designed to destroy entire fleets. "Captain, they're asking us to come aboard," Zeth reported. "They say they have many questions. They want to know what happened to the galaxy while they slept." Kira thought carefully. Her orders were to explore and report back. But she had found something beyond her wildest dreams. These were the legendary humans, the sleeping giants from the old stories. They were real, and they were awake. She also knew that her small ship could not escape if the humans wanted to stop them. The weapons on just one of their ships could destroy 1,000 vessels like the Silent Wing. "Tell them we accept their invitation," she said. "But also send a message back to Veltar. Tell the Council what we found. Tell them the humans have returned." As the Silent Wing flew toward the massive human ship, Kira wondered what kind of war could make people build such terrible weapons. What enemy was so dangerous that they needed to sleep for 500,000 years just to prepare to fight it? She was about to find out. And she had the feeling that the galaxy would never be the same again. The human ships waited in their perfect formation, silent and patient as they had been for countless centuries, but now they were awake. And Captain, Kira was going to be the first alien in 500,000 years to speak with the sleeping giants of Earth. Dr. Hannah felt her mind turning on like an old machine starting after a very long rest. Numbers and data flowed through her thoughts. 500,000 years, 237 days, 14 hours, and 26 minutes. That was how long she had been sleeping. She was not human anymore, not really. Her body had died long ago. But her mind lived on inside the great ship's computer systems. She was the brain of the Eternal Vigil, the flagship of humanity's last fleet. Slowly, Hannah remembered who she was. She had been Earth's greatest computer scientist. When the enemy came, when the Devourers began eating worlds, she had volunteered to become something new, part human, part machine. She became the guardian of the sleeping fleet. Now she was awake, and she had work to do. First, she checked the alien ship that had found them. The Silent Wing was small and peaceful. Its crew seemed curious, not dangerous. They called themselves Velthari. Hannah had never heard of them before, but that was not surprising. 500,000 years was a long time. Many new races probably evolved while humanity slept. Next, she began the awakening process. Deep inside the ship, thousands of humans lay in special sleeping chambers. They were not dead, but they were not alive either. The chambers kept their bodies frozen in time, waiting for the day they would be needed again. Admiral Jin was the first to wake up. He was the leader of Earth's final defense force. Hannah watched through cameras as warm air filled his chamber. His body began to move. His eyes opened. Jin sat up slowly. He was a big man, even by human standards. 2 meters tall with broad shoulders and strong hands. His black hair was cut short in military style. When he spoke, his voice was deep and calm. "Hannah," he said, "report. Admiral, we have been in sleep mode for 500,000 years. An alien exploration vessel discovered our position. I have made contact. They appear peaceful." Jin stood up and walked to a window. Outside, he could see the other ships of the fleet powering up. Lights turned on, engines warmed up. After 500,000 years, humanity's greatest weapons were coming back to life. "What about Earth?" he asked. "I do not know. Long-range sensors show the planet still exists, but I detect no signs of human life." Jin nodded. He had expected this. Earth was probably dead by now. The plan had always been to preserve humanity's military power, not its people. The civilians had been evacuated to colony ships that fled to distant galaxies. The fleet stayed behind to wait and watch. "Wake up Commander Bio and the senior staff," Jin ordered. "I want a full briefing in 1 hour." As Jin got dressed in his uniform, Hannah woke up more crew members. Commander Bio was Jin's second in command. She was smaller than Jin, but just as tough. Her specialty was tactics and battle planning. Engineer Mia came next. She was the fleet's technology expert. Her job was to maintain the advanced systems that kept the ships running. Dr. Nam was the medical officer. He would help the crew adjust to being awake after so long. One by one, the command team gathered in the ship's main meeting room. They moved slowly at first. Their bodies needed time to work properly again, but their minds were sharp. These were Earth's best military officers, chosen for this mission because they could think clearly under any conditions. "Gentlemen, ladies," Jin said as they sat around the large table, "we are awake. That means the time has come. Hannah, show them what we know." Hannah projected images on the room's main screen. She showed them the alien ship and its crew. She showed them star charts of the current galaxy. Many things had changed while they slept. "The aliens call themselves Velthari," Hannah explained. "They evolved on a world called Veltar about 50,000 years ago. They are explorers and scientists. They seem to be peaceful." "What about the Devourers?" asked Commander Bio. "Unknown. I have detected no sign of them in this system, but my sensors have limited range. They could be anywhere in the galaxy." Jin studied the star charts. New civilizations had grown up everywhere. Hundreds of alien races now lived in space that had once been empty. It was like waking up in a completely different universe. "Sir," said Dr. Nam, "we should consider that these aliens might not understand what we are. To them, we might look like conquerors or invaders." "Good point," Jin replied. "We need to be careful. Our ships are weapons of war. We might scare them." Through the ship's communication system, they could hear the alien captain trying to talk to them. Her name was Kira, and she seemed nervous but brave. She kept asking questions about who they were and where they came from. "I think we should meet with them," said Engineer Mia. "If they've been living in this galaxy for thousands of years, they might know things we need to know," Jin agreed. "Hannah, invite their captain aboard. Give her a small tour, but don't show her our weapon systems yet. We don't want to frighten her." "What should I tell her about why we're here?" Hannah asked. Jin thought about this carefully. "How do you explain to aliens that you've been sleeping for 500,000 years, waiting for monsters to come back? How do you tell them that your entire civilization built itself into the greatest war machine in galactic history?" "Tell her the truth," he said finally, "but tell her slowly. Let her ask questions. If she seems trustworthy, we'll tell her more." As the alien shuttle approached the Eternal Vigil, Jin looked out at his fleet. 5,000 ships, each one capable of destroying planets, each one carrying weapons that could crack moons in half. This was humanity's gift to the future. Not art or music or poetry, but the power to protect the galaxy from its greatest enemy. He hoped they would be enough. The Devourers had been gone for a long time, but Jin knew they would return. They always returned. They consumed everything in their path, growing stronger with each world they ate. But this time would be different. This time, humanity was ready. "Sir," said Commander Bio, "what if the aliens don't want our help? What if they ask us to leave?" Jin looked at her seriously. "Then we'll have to decide what's more important. Being polite or keeping the galaxy safe." Outside the ship, Captain Kira's shuttle docked with the human flagship. Soon she would step aboard and become the first alien to meet humanity's sleeping giants. She would learn why they had built such terrible weapons. She would learn what they had been waiting for, and maybe, if she was very unlucky, she would learn that the wait was almost over. Deep in space, beyond the reach of any sensor, something stirred in the darkness between galaxies. Something that had been traveling for a very long time. Something that remembered the taste of human worlds. The Devourers were coming home. Captain Kira had never felt so small in her life. The human ship's corridors were huge. The ceiling was 3 meters high, and the hallways were wide enough for 10 Velthari to walk side by side. Everything was built for giants. Dr. Hana appeared, as a blue hologram walking beside her. The human AI looked like a woman with kind eyes and long black hair. She moved like a real person, but Kira could see through her. "Please don't be afraid," Hana said in perfect Velthari language. "We learned your language from your ship's computers. We mean no harm." "Your ship is very big," Kira said, looking around nervously. "How many humans live here?" "Currently, about 50,000 are awake, but this ship can hold 2 million if needed." Kira stopped walking. 2 million? On one ship? "The Eternal Vigil is not just a warship," Hana explained. "It's a mobile city. We have farms, factories, schools, and hospitals. We have everything needed to keep our civilization alive." They entered a large room with a table in the center. Around the table sat the biggest humans Kira had ever seen. They were all over 2 meters tall with strong bodies and serious faces, but their eyes were not cruel. They looked tired, like people who had seen too much war. Admiral Jin stood up when she entered. Even sitting down, he was taller than Kira. When he stood, she had to look up to see his face. "Welcome aboard, Captain Kira," he said in her language. His voice was deep but gentle. "I am Admiral Jin of the Earth Defense Force. These are my officers." He introduced them one by one. Commander Bio, a stern woman with sharp eyes. Engineer Mia, younger than the others but very serious. Dr. Nam, who looked like a grandfather but moved like a soldier. "Please sit," Jin said, pointing to a chair that had been made smaller for her. "We have much to talk about." Kira sat down. "Carefully. Admiral Jin, my government wants to know who you are and why you're here. Our records show that humans disappeared from this galaxy long ago." "We didn't disappear," Jin said. "We went to sleep. We were waiting." "Waiting for what?" Jin looked at his officers. They nodded back at him. It was time to tell the truth. "Captain Kira, what do your people know about the Devourers?" Kira felt her blood turn cold. Every child in the galaxy knew that name. The Devourers are monsters from the old stories. They ate entire worlds. But they disappeared long ago. "My people's scientists think they were just legends." "They were not legends," Jin said quietly. "They were real, and they're coming back." Dr. Hana activated a holographic display above the table. It showed the galaxy as it looked 500,000 years ago. Kira could see thousands of red dots moving through space like a disease. "Each red dot is a Devourer ship," Hana explained. "They arrived from outside our galaxy and began consuming everything in their path. They ate planets, stars, even entire solar systems. They turned all matter into more ships, growing stronger with each world they destroyed." "But you stopped them," Kira said hopefully. "No," Jin replied. "We couldn't stop them. Humanity had the most advanced military in the galaxy, but we were still no match for them. They destroyed Earth's main fleet in a single battle. They ate our colony worlds one by one. We were losing the war." Commander Bio leaned forward. "So, we changed our strategy. Instead of fighting them directly, we decided to wait. We built this fleet using our most advanced technology. Then we went to sleep, waiting for the right moment to strike." "I don't understand," Kira said. "Why not fight them when you were strongest?" "Because we learned something important about the Devourers," Engineer Mia said. "They don't just eat matter, they eat information. Every ship they destroy teaches them new things. Every world they consume makes them smarter. Fighting them when they were active would only make them stronger." Jin activated another display. This one showed the galaxy today. The Devourers disappeared 400,000 years ago. Most species think they're gone forever, but we know better. They went to consume other galaxies, and now they're coming back. "How do you know?" Kira asked. "Our long-range sensors have detected them at the galaxy's edge," Dr. Nam said. "Scout ships at first, testing our defenses. But the main force won't be far behind." Kira felt dizzy. "How many ships do they have?" "Millions," Jin said simply. "Maybe billions. They've had 400,000 years to grow stronger." "But so, Have we? Hannah changed the display to show the human fleet. Kira had thought she was looking at all their ships before, but she was wrong. The fleet was much bigger than she imagined. Thousands of massive warships stretched across the solar system. Each ship in our fleet can destroy a planet, Jin explained. But that's not our real weapon. Our real weapon is this. He pointed to his head. Human intelligence, human strategy. We've had 500,000 years to plan for this war. What do you need from us? Kira asked. Information, Commander Bio said. We need to know how the galaxy has changed. We need to know about the new alien civilizations. We need to know if any of them are strong enough to help us fight. And if they're not? Kira asked quietly. Jin was silent for a long moment. Then, we'll fight alone, just like we planned. Dr. Hannah showed Kira more images, human ships that could repair themselves, weapons that could destroy entire fleets, shields that could stop attacks from stars themselves. The humans had not just slept. For 500,000 years, they had evolved. Captain Kira, Jin said, I need you to take a message to your government. Tell them that humanity has returned. Tell them that the Devourers are coming. Tell them that we're going to need every ship, every warrior, every weapon in the galaxy to stop them. What if they don't believe me? Kira asked. Then show them this, Engineer Mio said. She handed Kira a small device. This contains our sensor data about the Devourer scout ships. Your scientists will be able to confirm that we're telling the truth. As Kira prepared to leave, Dr. Nam gave her one more thing to think about. Captain, there's something else you should know. The Devourers don't just destroy civilizations. They study them first. They learn their weaknesses. They might already know about your people. Kira felt afraid, but also strangely hopeful. The humans were frightening, but they were on her side. They had spent 500,000 years preparing for this war. They had turned themselves into the greatest military force in galactic history. Admiral Jin, she said before leaving. What happens after we win? Jin smiled for the first time since she had met him. After we win, Captain, we go back to sleep. This fleet was built for one purpose only. When that purpose is complete, we'll find a quiet corner of the galaxy and rest again. And if we lose? Jin's smile disappeared. If we lose, Captain, there won't be a galaxy left to worry about. As Kira's shuttle flew back to the Silent Wing, she looked back at the human fleet. 5,000 ships, each one a masterpiece of military engineering, each one carrying weapons that could crack worlds in half. She wondered if it would be enough. Then she remembered the stories her grandmother told her about the old days, when monsters ate stars and brave warriors fought in the darkness between worlds. Maybe the stories were true after all. Maybe the sleeping giants of Earth really could save them all, but first she had to convince her people that the monsters were coming back. 3 weeks after Captain Kira's first meeting with the humans, ships began arriving from all over the galaxy. The Velthari Council had sent their best scientists and diplomats. The Zephyrian Empire brought their greatest military minds. Even the proud Altarian Federation, who never worked with other species, sent representatives. They all wanted to see the sleeping giants of Earth. Engineer Mia stood in the main hangar of the Eternal Vigil, watching alien shuttles dock one after another. She had never seen so many different species in one place. Some looked almost human, while others were completely strange. There were beings made of crystal, others that floated in the air, and some that needed special suits just to breathe. Nervous? Asked Dr. Yu, walking up beside her. He was the fleet's xenobiologist, an expert on alien life forms. His job was to study these new species and understand how they worked. A little, Mia admitted. We've been alone for so long. Now, suddenly we have to work with hundreds of different alien races. It's exciting, you said, watching a group of insect-like beings emerge from their shuttle. Look at all the different ways life can evolve. Each species might have knowledge or abilities we never thought of. The aliens were led to a large meeting room where Admiral Jin and his staff waited. The room had been modified with different types of chairs, breathing apparatus, and temperature controls. Every species had different needs. Captain Kira was there as the official translator and guide. Over the past weeks, she had become the link between humanity and the rest of the galaxy. She looked tired but determined. "Welcome, representatives of the Galactic Council," Jin said as the aliens took their seats. "I know you have many questions about who we are and why we're here. Today we will show you." The first demonstration was simple. Engineer Mia took a piece of metal that had been damaged by weapons fire. She placed it in a small machine no bigger than her hand. The machine hummed for a few seconds, then opened. The metal came out perfect, as if it had never been damaged. "Programmable matter," Mia explained. "Our ships can repair themselves completely, even from total destruction. As long as one tiny piece survives, the entire ship can rebuild itself." The aliens whispered among themselves. The Zephyrians, who were famous for their engineering skills, looked especially impressed. Next, Dr. Yu showed them human medical technology. He took a volunteer from the alien delegation, a Velthari scientist who had injured his arm in an accident. You placed a small device on the injury. Within minutes, the wound was completely healed. "Our medical systems can repair almost any damage to living tissue," Yu explained. "We can regrow lost limbs, cure diseases, even extend lifespans by thousands of years." But the real shock came when they toured the ship's power systems. Engineer Mia led them to the engine room, where massive machines hummed with quiet power. "This ship is powered by quantum energy extraction," she said. "We draw power directly from the space between atoms. One of our engines produces more energy than most stars." An Altarian engineer asked, "How is that possible?" "Our best scientists say such technology is impossible." "Your scientists are thinking in terms of normal matter," Mia replied. "We learned to work with quantum foam, zero-point energy, and dimensional mathematics. When you have 500,000 years to develop technology, you can achieve things that seem impossible." The tour continued through the ship's weapons systems. Commander Bio showed them a small handheld device. "This is a personal weapon carried by our Marines," she said. "It can fire energy beams, solid projectiles, or disintegration fields. It has enough power to destroy a small building." She then showed them the ship's main guns. Each weapon was the size of a skyscraper. The energy they contained could be felt in the air, making the aliens' skin tingle. "Our main cannons can destroy planets," Bio explained calmly. "But that's not their real purpose. They're designed to fight devourer ships, which are much harder to kill than planets." A crystalline delegate asked, "How do you power such massive weapons?" "Each ship carries miniature artificial stars," Bio replied. "We created our own suns and put them inside our ships. When we fire our main guns, we're literally shooting star energy at our enemies." The aliens were quiet for a long time. Some looked amazed, others looked frightened. A few looked angry. Finally, the lead Altarian delegate spoke up. "Admiral Jin, your technology is incredible, but it's also terrifying. How do we know you won't use these weapons against us?" Jin had expected this question. "Because we don't want to rule the galaxy, we want to save it. When the Devourers are defeated, we plan to go back to sleep." "But what if you change your minds?" asked a Zephyrian general. "What if you decide that the galaxy would be better off under human control?" "Then you'll have to trust us," Jin said simply. "Just like we're trusting you to help us instead of trying to destroy us while we're still waking up." Dr. Yu stepped forward. "May I suggest something? Instead of fearing each other, why don't we learn from each other? Humanity has advanced technology, but you have something we don't have. You have experience living in the modern galaxy." He activated a holographic display showing the current galactic map. "We've been asleep for 500,000 years. We don't know the new trade routes, the new politics, or the new threats. We need your knowledge just as much as you need our weapons." This seemed to calm some of the tension in the room. Captain Kira stood up. "Admiral Jin is right about the Devourers," she said. "Our deep space monitors have confirmed their approach. We've detected scout ships at the galactic rim. The main force will arrive within 10 years. 10 years? Gasped a Velthari scientist. That's not enough time to prepare. It is if we work together, Commander Bo said. We can upgrade your ships with human technology. We can train your officers in our battle tactics. We can share our weapons and defenses. But there's a cost, Jin added. This won't be an easy war. The Devourers are not like any enemy you've faced before. They don't negotiate. They don't take prisoners. They exist only to consume and grow stronger. Engineer Mia brought up another display, this one showing battle simulations. Even with our advanced technology, we estimate that we'll lose 60% of all ships in the war. Many of your worlds will be destroyed before we can save them. The room fell silent. The aliens looked at each other, understanding for the first time what they were really facing. However, Jin continued, if we don't fight, you'll lose everything. The Devourers will consume the entire galaxy. Every world, every star, every living being will be turned into raw material for their expansion. A young Velthari officer raised her hand. Admiral, what do you need from us? Everything, Jin replied. Every ship, every soldier, every scientist, every engineer. We need you to convert your entire civilization into a war machine, just like humanity did 500,000 years ago. And if we refuse? Asked the Altarian delegate. Jin looked him straight in the eye. Then you'll die when the Devourers arrive, and we'll fight alone, just like we always planned. The meeting ended with the aliens agreeing to return to their governments with humanity's offer. Some would accept the alliance, others would refuse, hoping that the Devourers were still just legends. As the alien shuttles departed, Dr. Yu stood beside Admiral Jin, watching them go. Do you think they'll help us? Yu asked. Some will, Jin replied. Others will wait until the Devourers arrive and prove we were right, but by then it might be too late. In the distance, human ships continued their preparations. Ancient weapons were tested and calibrated. New technologies were installed and debugged. Soldiers who had slept for 500,000 years trained for a war that would decide the fate of everything. The sleeping giants of Earth were fully awake now, and they were getting ready to fight the greatest battle in galactic history. The first attack came without warning. Captain Kira was on the bridge of her new ship, the Star Defender. It was a hybrid vessel built with human technology but designed for Velthari crews. The past 2 years had been spent upgrading alien ships and training mixed crews for the coming war. She had been promoted to fleet captain, commanding a battle group of 50 ships. Half were Velthari vessels, half were from other allied species. They were patrolling the outer rim of the galaxy, watching for signs of the enemy. Contact, shouted her sensor officer. Multiple bogies coming out of hyperspace. They're huge. On the main screen, space itself seemed to tear open. Dark shapes poured through the tears like insects crawling out of a wound. The Devourer ships were nothing like the clean, elegant vessels built by galactic civilizations. They looked organic, grown rather than built. Their hulls writhed and pulsed as if they were alive. How many? Kira asked, trying to keep her voice steady. I count. Over 300 ships in the first wave. But more are coming through all the time. Kira opened a channel to the human fleet. Admiral Jin, this is Fleet Captain Kira. The Devourers are here, Outer Rim, Sector 7. We need immediate support. Jin's voice came back immediately. Acknowledge. Captain, hold your position. Help is coming. But Kira could see that help might come too late. The Devourer ships were moving toward the nearby colony world of New Veltar. 2 billion people lived there. If the Devourers reached the planet, they would all die. All ships, attack formation, Kira ordered. Target the lead vessels, don't let them reach the planet. The battle began badly for the Allied forces. Their weapons, even upgraded with human technology, barely scratched the Devourer ships. The enemy vessels seemed to absorb the energy from laser cannons and missile explosions, growing stronger with each attack. Worse, the Devourer ships were learning. Each time an allied vessel fired a weapon, the enemy adapted to it. Soon, entire weapon systems became useless against them. Captain, we're losing ships fast, reported her tactical officer. The bright star just exploded. The Windwalker is drifting, all systems dead. Then the human fleet arrived, Admiral Jin's flagship. The Eternal Vigil dropped out of hyperspace like an avenging angel. Behind it came 100 more human warships, their hulls gleaming with power and purpose. All allied ships pull back to minimum safe distance, Jin ordered. We're going to show these monsters what humanity learned during our long sleep. The human ships opened fire, and space lit up like a new sun. But these were not ordinary weapons. These were reality breakers, physics benders, the tools of a civilization that had 500,000 years to perfect the art of war. One human destroyer fired a single shot that unmade 3 Devourer ships. They didn't explode or burn. They simply stopped existing as if they had never been there at all. Another human cruiser activated something called a time lance. A beam of twisted spacetime struck a group of enemy vessels, and they began aging rapidly. In seconds, ships that had been new became ancient hulks that crumbled into dust, but the Devourers adapted quickly. They had evolved too during their time away. Soon, even the human weapons began to lose effectiveness as the enemy ships learned to defend against them. "Jin to all ships," came the Admiral's voice. "Phase 2, reveal the trap." Suddenly, the space around the battle zone came alive. What had looked like empty space was actually filled with hidden human weapons. Entire asteroid belts turned out to be disguised battleships. Artificial planets opened up to reveal massive gun batteries. The Sol system itself had been turned into a weapon. Commander Bo's voice came over the communication channel. "All enemy ships are now within the capture zone. Activating stellar tap." At the center of the system, Earth's sun began to change. Streams of pure energy flowed from its surface, channeled by machines that humanity had spent centuries building. The star's power was being harvested and focused into a single, unimaginable weapon. "By the void," whispered Kira's sensor officer. They turned their sun into a gun, the stellar weapon fired. A beam of concentrated star energy, wider than most planets, swept across the battlefield. Every Devourer ship it touched was vaporized instantly. Hundreds of enemy vessels died in a single moment, but even this was not enough. More Devourer ships kept coming through the hyperspace tiers, thousands of them. The enemy had learned from their previous defeat and returned with overwhelming numbers. Fleet Commander Ray, Jin's protege, led the human vanguard in a desperate charge. Her ships were smaller than the flagship, but they moved like dancers, weaving between enemy fire while striking with surgical precision. "We can't hold them all," Ray reported. "There are too many. They're breaking through our outer perimeter." Dr. Nam, monitoring the battle from the medical bay, watched as casualty reports flooded in. Entire crews were being lost. Ships that had taken years to build were destroyed in seconds. "Admiral," he called to Jin, "the Devourers are doing something new. They're not just destroying our ships. They're absorbing them. Every vessel they kill makes them stronger." Jin realized the horrible truth. The Devourers had evolved beyond anything humanity had planned for. They had become something that could consume not just matter, but information, energy, even the fundamental forces that held reality together. "All ships, fall back to Earth," Jin ordered. "Activate the final protocol." As the human and allied fleets retreated toward the blue world that had once been humanity's home, the Devourers followed. They sensed victory. They could taste the end of this upstart species that had dared to oppose them, but Admiral Jin had one last surprise. "Captain Kira," he said over a private channel, "you and your ships need to get as far away from Earth as possible. What we're about to do will destroy everything within 50 light years." "What are you talking about?" Kira asked. "We're going to detonate our sun," Jin replied calmly. "Not just make it explode. We're going to turn it into a weapon. That will tear a hole in space itself. It will destroy the Devourers, but it will also destroy us." Kira felt her heart stop. "Admiral, there has to be another way." "There is no other way," Jin said. "This is what we built the fleet for. This is why we slept for 500,000 years. To make this sacrifice when the time came." As Kira's ships Fled the doomed system, she watched on her rear sensors as the human fleet formed a perfect sphere around Earth. They were not running, they were not hiding. They were making their final stand at the birthplace of their species, the Devourers. Swarmed toward Earth like a black tide. They thought they had won. They thought they had finally defeated the sleeping giants. They were about to learn why humanity had been the galaxy's greatest fear. Even before they became its greatest hope. Admiral Jin stood on the bridge of the Eternal Vigil, watching his enemy approach. Around him, his crew worked with calm efficiency. They knew they were about to die. They had always known this day would come. "All ships report ready," Commander Bio announced. "Engineering reports the stellar core is primed," Engineer Mia added. "Medical bay is sealed," Dr. Nam confirmed. Jin looked at Earth one last time, the blue world where humanity had been born, where they had first looked up at the stars and dreamed of touching them. It would die today, but its children would live forever in the memory of the galaxy. "Begin the final countdown," Jin ordered. Deep within Earth's sun, machines that had taken centuries to build began their ultimate function. The star's core was being converted into something that had never existed before. A weapon that would burn through dimensions and consume the very fabric of space. The Devourers realized too late what was happening. They tried to retreat, but they were trapped within the gravity well of the system. They could only watch as the sun began to change color, growing brighter and more terrible with each passing second. "For Earth," Admiral Jin whispered. "For humanity," his crew replied. The sun exploded, and with it, the greatest sacrifice in galactic history. Captain Kira stood on the observation deck of the rebuilt space station, looking out at the memorial garden that floated in the void where Earth used to be. 5 years had passed since the Battle of Sol, but the scar in space still glowed with strange energy. The stellar detonation had worked. The weapon that humanity built inside their sun had torn through dimensions, creating a tear in reality itself. The Devourers caught in the blast had been completely destroyed. Not just their ships, but their very existence wiped from the universe, but the cost had been terrible. Earth was gone. The Sol system was gone. And with them, Admiral Jin and the greatest heroes humanity had ever produced. "The memorial looks good," said a familiar voice behind her. Kira turned to see Dr. Hana approaching. The AI had survived because her consciousness was stored in quantum computers spread across the fleet. She was one of the few humans left who remembered what Earth looked like when it was alive. "I wanted to get it right," Kira said. "Admiral Jin and his crew deserve better than just empty space where their world used to be." The memorial was beautiful. Millions of small lights floated in perfect formation, each one representing a human life lost in the final battle. At the center was a blue hologram of Earth as it had appeared in its last days, turning slowly in the eternal night. "How are the survivors doing?" Kira asked. "Better than expected," Hannah replied. "We lost about half the fleet in the battle, but the remaining ships are adapting well to their new role." The human survivors had faced a choice after the war. They could try to rebuild their civilization on new worlds, or they could continue their role as the galaxy's guardians. Most had chosen to stay with the fleet. Commander Bio had become the new admiral after Jin's death. She was different from Jin, more direct and less patient, but she had the same unshakable dedication to protecting others. Under her leadership, the human fleet had evolved from a weapon of war into something new. "The Altarians have agreed to join the Defense Compact," Hannah reported. "That makes 47 species committed to the new alliance." The Defense Compact was humanity's gift to the galaxy. It was an agreement between species to share technology, coordinate defenses, and prepare for future threats. The humans provided advanced weapons and training. The alien species provided knowledge of the modern galaxy and resources for rebuilding. "What about the Zephyrians?" Kira asked. "Still undecided. They're worried about giving up too much independence." Kira understood. The war had changed everything. Species that had been enemies for thousands of years now worked together. Ancient pride had been replaced by practical cooperation. But some civilizations still struggled with the new reality. The biggest change was in humanity itself. The war had cost them their homeworld, but it had given them something else. For the first time in their history, humans were not alone in the universe. They had allies, friends, and even families among the stars. Dr. Yu had married a crystalline scientist and was raising hybrid children using advanced genetic technology. Engineer Mia had opened a technical school that taught alien students human engineering principles. Dr. Nam ran medical clinics that served dozens of different species. But not everyone was happy with the changes. "Captain Kira," called a young voice from behind her. She turned to see Lieutenant Dan approaching. He was one of the youngest humans to survive the war, barely 25 years old when he was awakened from cryosleep. Unlike the older officers, he had no memories of Earth before the enemy came. "Lieutenant, what can I do for you?" "Ma'am, I've been thinking about Admiral Jin's final message. The one he sent before the sun exploded," Kira remembered. Jin's last transmission had been broadcast to the entire galaxy. In it, he had explained humanity's choice and asked the other species to remember what they had sacrificed. "What about it, Lieutenant?" "He said that humanity's job was to be guardians, not rulers, but what if we're wrong? What if the galaxy needs us to take charge?" It was a question that many young humans asked. They had grown up hearing stories of their species' greatness. They knew that human technology was superior to anything the aliens possessed. Some wondered why they should follow alien leaders when they could lead themselves. "Lieutenant," Kira said carefully, "what do you think Admiral Jin would say to that?" Don was quiet for a moment. "He would say that power without wisdom is tyranny, and that true strength comes from protecting those who cannot protect themselves." "Exactly," Hannah added. "We are strong, but strength alone is not enough. We need the wisdom that comes from working with others, learning from their experiences, and accepting their guidance when they know better than we do." As they talked, alarms began sounding throughout the station. Kira immediately ran to the command center. Followed by Hannah and Dan, on the main screen, long-range sensors showed something that made everyone's blood run cold. At the very edge of the galaxy, new contacts were appearing. Ships, but not Devourer. Designs. These were something else entirely. Admiral Bo's face appeared on the communication screen. Her ship was leading a patrol in that sector, investigating the unknown contacts. "Captain Kira, we have a problem," Bo said grimly. "The new arrivals aren't Devourers, but they're not friendly either. They're demanding that all inferior species surrender immediately." "Who are they?" Kira asked. "They call themselves the Hegemony. According to their messages, they're refugees from another galaxy. They say the Devourers drove them from their home, and now they want to claim ours." Kira felt tired. It seemed that each victory only led to new challenges. How many? Ships? Thousands. Maybe tens of thousands? And Captain, their technology is almost as advanced as ours. Dr. Hana ran quick calculations. If they're Devourer refugees, they must have been fighting that war for millions of years. They've probably evolved their technology far beyond what most species can achieve. What are our options? Don asked. Admiral Bo answered from the screen. "We can fight them, negotiate with them, or try to find some other solution. But we need to decide quickly. They're already attacking outer colonies." Kira looked at the memorial garden visible through the command center's windows. The lights representing Earth's fallen children seemed to pulse with gentle encouragement. "Admiral Bo, send a message to all Defense Compact members. Tell them we have a new threat, but also a new opportunity." "Opportunity?" Bo asked. "These hegemony refugees have been fighting Devourers for millions of years. They might know things about the enemy that we don't. If we can convince them to work with us instead of against us, we might finally be able to hunt down the remaining Devourer fleets." It was a risky plan. The hegemony had already shown hostility toward inferior species. But it was also humanity's nature to turn enemies into allies whenever possible. And if they refuse to cooperate? Hannah asked. Kira looked at Lieutenant Dan, seeing the determination in his young eyes. He represented the new generation of humans, those who would carry on the legacy of Admiral Jin and his heroes. "Then we'll do what we've always done," she said. We'll protect the galaxy, no matter what it costs us. Over the following months, the situation with the hegemony remained tense but not hopeless. Some of their leaders were willing to negotiate. Others insisted on conquest. The galaxy once again balanced on the edge of war, but this time was different. This time, the species of the galaxy stood together. The Defense Compact had grown into something Admiral Jin never could have imagined. Not just a military alliance, but a true galactic community. Humans served as teachers and protectors, but they were no longer alone. Velthari scientists worked alongside human engineers. Crystalline philosophers advised human strategists. Even the proud Altarians had learned to value cooperation over independence. As Captain Kira prepared for whatever challenges lay ahead, she often thought about Admiral Jin's words. Humanity had been asleep for 500,000 years, but they had awakened to find themselves part of something larger than any one species. The sleeping giants of Earth were no longer sleeping. They were no longer alone. And they were ready for whatever the universe might bring. In the depths of space, beyond the reach of any sensor, something stirred. Not devourers this time, but something else. Something that had been watching the galaxy's struggles with great interest, but that was a story for another day. For now, the galaxy was at peace, protected by the Guardians who had sacrificed everything to keep it safe. The legacy of the sleeping giants lived on, not in conquest or domination, but in the simple promise that no species would ever have to face the darkness alone. And in Memorial Garden, where Earth used to shine, the lights of memory pulsed with quiet satisfaction, knowing that their sacrifice had meant something after all.